Hey, Dave here. I'm at Englewood Dam, little flood season here, and I brought my bodyguard.
Road trip Rich.
Because we've got some Canadian geese that may go on attack if we don't watch our P's and Q's here. So we're at the base of the Englewood Dam, like I said, and what we're gonna talk about today is the Great Flood of 1913 that struck Dayton, Ohio.
Not only Dayton, Ohio, but it struck, what, the Midwest?
Yeah, the epicenter was Dayton, got hit the hardest, but we did a little research on some of the storms that led up to this. Rich, what information do you have for us on this?
Well, in Omaha, they had tornadoes. They had one tornado struck Diamond Theater and 30 people were killed.
So Omaha, Nebraska, that's
yep.
what, probably a good 500 miles from here.
There's other stories where a 4-year-old was dropped out of the sky. And Charles Allen, I do believe his name, he was able to catch the baby as it fell.
Okay, Rich, you also told me something about the human meteorite. What was that all about?
That was, people were huddled in their homes seeking shelter from the storm.
Okay,
and all of a sudden,
this is in Omaha still?
Omaha, still in Omaha. And something crashed through the dining room window, slid across the dining table, and landed.
Okay.
The gentleman was naked.
So
he grabbed,
he just grabbed Tom then? Some guy was outside the window doing whatever, naked, or?
Well, supposedly his story, he got picked up by the tornado, and it was so strong, it just ripped the clothes off of him.
Yeah, I'll have to use that excuse next time I'm creeping in the woods there in the bushes. So he crashed through it. He's still alive and everything there?
Supposedly.
That's one way to go. Now, you're also telling me about kind of like the movie Twister with cows flying through the air and chickens getting all their feathers plucked off of them as well.
Yep, the cows were picked up and thrown. They were actually impaled on fence posts.
Nice.
And like you said, chickens were plucked clean.
Nice. So now this storm moved further east, got into Indiana, northern Ohio, and we're
Michigan
talking about
and
we're
Illinois.
talking about what, over a couple 2-3 day period, there's what, 10 to 12 inches of rain.
Yeah.
And what was really significant about that was it was already a damp spring, I guess you could say, and there was a
heavy snowfall during the winter too.
Yeah,
So
there's a lot of snow runoff when the heat. But then they had a frost that froze this ground that was already saturated, and when all that rain hit, it was all runoff.
Yep.
You know, it wasn't absorbed by the ground at all. So what was already a shit ton of rain was, you know, probably 5 times worse, because they said 90% of that runoff went into the rivers, went into the where the Stillwater right here in Englewood, the Stillwater and the Great Miami River and the Mad River and all.
And also flooded the Scioto and Mohican.
Yeah, and further east in Ohio and Columbus and whatnot.
It's too muddy. I'm not going down there.
Ah, what a wimp. Yeah, road trip Rich isn't mud trip Rich.
Well, I don't want
you got some new
on
shoes
video
there?
falling on my ass.
Well, that's the beauty of it. Come on, man. So all this here, because of the dam, is the flood basin for the Stillwater River. And a story from, that's been a few years ago, but there was a couple here walking their dog, and the dog jumped in here, and of course was getting carried away towards the dam here, and the lady jumped in after it, saved the dog, failed. Her husband jumped in to attempt to save her. He failed as well, and well, it took, I want to say, a week or two, and they found their bodies a couple miles upstream here. So always be careful if you're around something like this. It's serious. Okay, you can see where the river is now after about a week of pretty heavy rain. And this marker here will show you where the 100-year flood of 1959 and how high that was compared to this already washed out land. Unfortunately, that 100-year flood did not compare at all to the great 1913 flood, which, I mean, that's an easy 20 feet higher than the 100-year flood, if that tells you anything. All right, we're here now along the shores of the Great Miami River, just outside of downtown Dayton. And it was about this point here where the first break of the levee happened. And what happens, the water rose and rose, and it finally goes over the top of the levee. And when it starts going to the backside of the levee, that's where it really starts to erode the levee, and it breaks away. And all the water starts pouring in. And once it gets onto paved streets, that's the path of least resistance, and just started flooding the streets. So we're right here at the confluence of the Great Miami River and the Mad River. And what happened during the flood is the Great Miami River, being the bigger river, was hitting stronger through here and backing up the Miami River, all the flood water it had.
Right.
And Miami River kept building up, and there was a, like we said earlier, a break on the Miami River onto Monument Street, where the levee kind of went. But right in here was the big break. The levee right here in this area finally gave way, and that's what gave in the 10 to 20 foot just wave of water that struck downtown Dayton. Okay, Rich, so when the Mad River broke through its levee, it poured down the canal here, which is now Patterson Boulevard. And the canal, which still existed at that time, although it wasn't being used much, that was the perfect path for that water just to stream downtown and really fill the whole downtown with just, well, they say up to what, 10 feet of water?
Something like, I thought it was like 20 feet in 24 hours. I could be wrong. Something like that.
Taller than me, that's all I know.
Yeah.
When the levee gave way, 10 to 20 feet of water rushed into downtown Dayton. People ran for their lives through the streets. There are stories of people climbing light posts in an attempt to escape the water, only to give way to fatigue and the cold water beneath them. Several hundred people would lose their lives on that day. This event was truly the equivalency of Katrina for Dayton in 1913. Hundreds of horses that were too buoyant to drown immediately and too weighed down to escape would lose their lives that day and fill the streets. As water rose and filled the lower floors of homes, people kept rising up until they reached their attic, and this is where the promises made in the attics were formed. There was really no Red Cross or FEMA to help at that time at a national level, so local leader John Patterson, head of NCR, spearheaded the local fundraising campaign.
Road trip ripping myself, Dave are now at the Huffman Dam. And just like the other ones, looks like a giant beaver maybe was trying to help the story over there, Rich. That's a lot of logs. The Huffman Dam is actually on the Mad River. She's a little angry today, but I wouldn't say she's totally mad, would you, Rich?
Nah, I don't think she's angry.
Moving in a little clip here.
She's chilling right now.
But we'll tell you a little story about what the creation of this particular dam here did. Well, Rich had the bright idea of walking up the dam here. I know there's got to be an escalator or something like this. I'm not quite as mountain goatish as Rich, but when they built this dam, anytime you build a dam, there's a floodplain behind it. And unfortunately for the residents of a little town called Osborn, Ohio, that floodplain is right where their houses and homes and churches were. So what they did was they were, by eminent domain, they were bought out by the government. You doing all right there, Rich?
Yeah.
All right, just checking your breath. And they actually took every house, church, building, put it on whatever they had in time, I guess trucks or whatnot.
What do you mean? You're talking about moving the buildings?
They moved the whole town, yeah. They moved the whole town further, I guess it'd be east of here, next to a little town called Fairfield, Ohio. Watch your step there, young Rich.
Oh.
So, Osborn and Fairfield were rival cities. And that's about when they put in the Wright Field, which became Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And the area really started growing. So the two towns decided, why not merge? And about the 1950s, they became the town of Osborn plus Fairfield became Fairborn, Ohio. So this particular dam here is protecting Dayton from the raging waters of the Mad River here, which, as we talked in an earlier piece, meet up with the Miami River just not far at all from downtown Dayton. Now you hear the name Huffman Dam, and that'll probably give you a little reminder of what is on the other side, which was Huffman's Prairie, which we'll tackle in another video when we talk about the Wright brothers a little bit.
The entire city of Osborn, Ohio was raised with jacks and moved by tractor several miles next to the existing city of Fairfield, Ohio, where in 1950, on January 1st, they merged to become the city of Fairborn, Ohio.
All right, Dayton Dave here with my buddy.
Road trip Rich.
And we're at the Taylorsville Dam, one of 5 dams built back in 1922 to help stop the storms like we might be getting on us right now. Okay, me and Rich are gonna walk down, look at this Taylorsville Dam here, and see what kind of flow it's holding back.
Well, the river is up.
Yeah, we've got a lot of rain here in the last week.
I just wonder
Flooding.
how much water we're going to get from Michigan.
Michigan got hammered, for those who follow the news. They had, what, a couple of dams break there?
Yeah. And that all that water, doesn't it flow south?
Yeah, it'll all head down, like even this river here, the Great Miami River flows into the Ohio River, it'll flow into the Mississippi, and all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico. So, you want to take a spit in this, or take a leak and made it down on your trip to Florida, I guess it's theoretically possible. As you can see, the water is pretty high. You can see the power of it just there by carrying stuff that it's able to move there. I mean, those are, how big do you think those trees are there? Probably at least 20-foot logs there.
Yeah, at least a couple feet in diameter. Well, not around. Yeah, diameter, right?
We are getting soaked.
Engineer Arthur Clark was brought in to run the Miami Conservancy District, and he designed a series of dry dams that would help save the area from future flooding. Arthur Clark would eventually go on to lead the Tennessee Valley Authority in a series of dams along the Tennessee River. The dams were designed to withstand the amount of the flood of 1913 plus an additional 40%.
Well, we thought we were done with our whole flood video, but looks like we're gonna do a tad more. And what we have here is what we believe to be where the old covered bridge on the Route 40 existed. As you saw on the sign, Tadmor was a big town with the three major forms of transportation going through it at one time or another. The lock system, and it was part of the National Road. And as you might be able to hear in the background, railroads were a big part of it. But this town was washed out during the Great Flood of 1913, and once they built the dams, it kind of put a forever ending and turned this into an extinct town.
It's the main trail.
Main trail. So I'm with Road Trip here, and he's trying to find the great lost city of Tadmor, Ohio. We've went over the river and through the woods, and we haven't found Grandma's house yet. What do you think there, Road Trip?
Yeah, I think we're lost.
Okay.
I don't know. We gotta look for the cookie crumbs.
If anybody should ever happen to find this video, just tell our families we loved them. What you got going here? Hey, come on, man. I'm carrying expensive equipment here. I can't.
Oh, you can do it.
So supposedly somewhere around here we're supposed to find, what's that, Rich? The foundations for some of the houses here, and maybe a
Post office, I think the general store.
train station even, maybe.
I don't know about that.
But I don't know how many, what do you think? We've walked about 30 or 40 miles through these woods so far.
At least.
Yeah, I'd give
And
or
we still
take.
gotta go home. We've still gotta walk back.
Yeah. So, okay, here's Mr. Rich going under, and you notice he had to give it the grunt. And Road Trip going over the top. Well, we'll get back to you when we find something. So we found the post office and store here. Great explorers that we are. I'm sure no one really had any doubt in us. Everybody was waiting for a Road Trip to take a fall here. There's probably a good chance this might be our time. What do you got down there, Rich?
Basically the old foundation for the wall.
Okay, I know a lot of people were clamoring for good quality video of 100-year-old washed out foundation, and I think this is gonna be their lucky day.
It goes around this way and comes up.
That's a pretty high wall there too.
I'm thinking this is probably the back wall.
And just to give you an example of why you don't want to build something like this in this particular spot, we are this close to the Great Miami River. So it's I wouldn't even say 20 feet from the river there. That's
And
without any sort of levee or flood prevention. It's not good for business.
as you pan along, you see it was where it flooded up again.
Oh yeah, just recently we had a. So we have found part of the lost city of Tadmor. So a little more investigation, and just on the other side of the path where we were before, we found a sign for the covered bridge, which was that cement structure we showed you earlier that we thought was a foundation for a store, but it appears that is the base for the covered bridge that went over the Great Miami River. Okay, so what do you think that first bridge-like structure we saw was? That's not a covered bridge. The only options we have, I guess, is that's where the old National Road went over, or as you said earlier, maybe it's where the train went over.
But it could be. I mean, you would think the train would go north and south instead of east and west, but
Well, not necessarily. It could be an east-west train.
true. The National Road that supplied products from the east coast to the west.
Let's get a picture of this guy falling down. All right, you disappoint me so. Whoa, holy crap. Didn't need to get up close to a road trip that close. All right, well, we're looking for more signage, and starting to feel that maybe that was probably all we're going to get as far as Tadmor here. You got any other thoughts there, Rich?
Man, I think you're right. It looks like it's pretty much all washed away.
Yeah. So we'll walk up to this last log here, and if we don't see anything, it might be the end of this glorious video.
Oh, good. Then we can call Uber to pick us up.
Yeah, be nice. I don't know if Uber makes it out this far. See what? That's a pretty. Just need to climb to the top of that tree and wave them down, maybe.
I would just send a white flag up there.
Yeah,
There's a log you can cross. Why don't you just cross that log?
Okay.
Here, I'll hold the camera while you do it.
Yeah, I can do both. Of course, what am I do when I get to the other side?
I don't know.
Yeah. All right, I think that's the end of the trail here then.
This concludes the comprehensive study of the Great Flood of Dayton of 1913.